I had no idea what I was going to talk about today, so I thought I'd just start playing and think and see where it leads me. I need to turn this mic on. Okay, so now hopefully you can hear me better. So much of our life and happiness at our age depends on staying in our lane, I think. And we have our youth to just explore all the lanes and just go crazy and decide where we want to go in life. But as we get older, and particularly after we're retired, I think we need to choose our hobbies carefully and choose a good life, a life of happiness and not a life of pleasure. Because as we know at our age, pleasure, if we chase it, it tends to make us miserable, ironically. We get a little bit and then we want more, especially as the novelty wears off. And novelty is at some point more and more difficult to obtain. And once you do obtain it, you might get a little bit of pleasure, a little bit of intense feeling, and then it wears off. You get bored, you want something else. And when I first started playing guitar, I was going crazy, just checking everything out. I knew the type of music that I liked, and I would play cover songs. I would basically learn the song or learn the best part of the song, and that feeling that I got wore off pretty quickly. And I realized after a lot of years, it took me a lot of years to realize where I wanted my lane to be, and that's the blues, because I can express myself playing the blues without saying a word. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And I structure my music kind of the way that I structure my life. And I think about staying in my lane. I may venture out a little bit out of my comfort zone, but not too much. And I know that's contrary to what you probably hear in other videos if you're listening to YouTube videos for motivation, is that you got to go out there and grab life and get out of your comfort zone. And I think we do, but we have to be careful not to step too far out. And how we learn as we get older is different than how we learn when we're children. Our brains aren't like sponges anymore. We have to take what we've learned throughout our whole life and associate that to the new task that we're learning, because we can't build neurons the same way we used to. And I'm obviously not a neuroscientist, so I'm not using probably the proper terminology, but I do know that as we get older, it's more difficult to learn new tasks, particularly if they're tasks that aren't associated with things that we already know. And that's why with my hobbies, I choose things that I already know and expand on that a little bit. And I think I would like to hear if you have a different opinion about that, about exploring, and maybe you've had different experiences. We don't necessarily have to be the greatest at the things that we do, because we've had some things in our lives at our age that we were great at. And you know that that is pretty much pleasure. Like you get pleasure by knowing you're the best at something, but then that wears off really quickly. I think they have studies that it's kind of funny. People who win the bronze medal are actually happier than people who win the silver medal, because people who won the bronze medal are just barely in the category of getting a medal. So they almost didn't get one. So they're happy because of that. But people who win a silver medal are barely away from the gold. So they didn't get that. And the silver medal is technically, I mean, as you know, a higher achievement than a bronze medal. But I think we have to pay more attention to the psychological effects of what we're doing than just going for the gold and just going for the greatest achievements in life. And when we do that, that's how we have a good life, is to pay attention to the psychological effects as we get older. And how do we stay in our lane? When can we go outside of it? What is it going to do for us? We have to have some unpredictability in life, I believe, but we still have to try to predict what's going on and then not let ourselves we have to be more careful with our health, with ourselves, with our psychology, with a lot of things if we want to have a good life. And particularly because things aren't planned out for us when we don't have a job. So we have to structure our lives in a way to have that happy life. And for me, one of the important things I was thinking about today, one of the things I've learned is that I want to save my passive high dopamine activities for later in the day. Because if I do it early, I kind of get that pleasure hangover to where it's hard to be creative throughout the day. And I've learned this through, right now, I'm paying a lot of attention to stocks, and it's similar to gambling, which I do also, but I save that activity for later in the day because I can go to the casino at any time. Which, by the way, I know that might sound like a bad habit, but I have a particular strategy that I follow, and it's part of my income. I don't suggest it because it's really difficult to do it the right way so that it doesn't suck your brain into that pleasure cycle, that hedonic treadmill. If you are interested, you can look at my book or ask questions, but just Google my name, Sean Hunt, and my game is blackjack. The book that I wrote is called Where Voodoo Meets Advantage Play, but that's not what this channel is about. Like I said, I don't really suggest it, and I kind of veered off here. But basically what I'm saying is I try to save my higher dopamine passive activities for later in the day. And right now with my investments, I've sold a lot of stocks and I'm reallocating, and it's kind of exciting, and I'm listening to the market. I have a particular show that I listen to in the mornings to listen to the market open and what's going on and the macroeconomics of it all. But I look forward to getting my investments more on autopilot again once I reallocate, so that I don't have to have that high dopamine level so early in the day that it takes away from my creativity throughout the rest of the day. And so I think it's important to think about how we structure our hobbies. And it's easy to say, like, don't touch your phone first thing in the morning. It's a lot harder to do. I mean, I've done that. I'm not gonna feel guilty about doing that when I get up and grab for my phone first thing. Although I know it's not the best for me. It could be worse. There could be worse things that I'm doing. So I just think it's important the activities that are going to make us the happiest are the activities that require some effort and require some work to get that dopamine. And it's not so intense that you just sit back and your neurons, what's the word I'm looking for? Your dopamine receptors maybe are just overwhelmed and you don't have to work for it. That could be anything that you do. It doesn't just have to be from drugs, but it's from activities that we do that don't require us to work, that give us that intense dopamine. And that has a lot to do with scrolling social media or passively watching videos as opposed to making videos like I'm doing right now. This is a little bit uncomfortable, but I'm working for it and I'm getting some dopamine hits along the way as I explain myself and as I get better at articulating what I'm trying to say. I'm feeling good, and it's a form of happiness rather than pleasure. I mean, I guess I do get some pleasure out of it, but it's more long lasting. And once I finish this, I'm going to feel good. There might be things that I needed to say that I don't say right now, but I've made that a point from when I started this channel, is that I'm not going to try to say everything that I can in each video, because I'm going to have plenty of times to make more videos. And so I'm not that worried about it. And having said that, I think that's probably a good time to wrap up. I still feel like there's more to say, but I did say a few things. And I want these videos to kind of be like a conversation with a friend as I'm making them too. So like I just called you up and said, hey, how's it going? But you're not able to respond right now. And it's a little bit more difficult talking to a camera because I don't get the same feedback as I do in a conversation. But I think this is good for me, and I hope it helps you too. Anyway, if you don't mind, just hit the like button. Let me know that you're out there listening. Maybe leave a comment and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Thanks for listening. See you next time.